So this is my next video introducing you to The Wanderer's Legacy, my new book which is coming out in April 25, which is the story of Lamech, Adah and Zillah from Genesis chapter 4, and I'm super excited about this one. In my last video I read you the beginning of chapter 2 and now I'm going to read you the second half. Adah had been sought after before. As soon as she'd blossomed into womanhood at the tender age of 13, men noticed her. As she traded for supplies in the market, they would glance her way, stepping aside to make room for her, scrutinising her like they would a cattle purchase. She would catch their whispers on the wind. They were saying things not always pleasant, but she didn't understand why. Not until 3 years later, when Eliana laughed at her and forced her to look at her reflection in a bowl of water. "What do you see, Adah?" Eliana had asked in her birdsong voice. Adah had peered into the water, seeing the face she hadn't considered for many years. She knew what it felt like, the lengthening of her nose and widening of her lips, and the bumps that sometimes pushed beneath the surface of her skin, irritatingly compelling her to squeeze them. They had accompanied the swelling of breasts and flow of womanhood that her Ima had endeavoured to explain and hide from her Abba. She hadn't known why. The bumps had lessened since, appearing now for only a few days a month. Also, her black hair had thickened. It required far more braids than it had when she was a girl. As Adah viewed the features often felt, it became clear that she resembled her mother, apart from her skin tone. Her eyes were darker too, though her colour was hard to distinguish in the earthenware bowl. "What colour are my eyes?" Adah asked. "They are like copper," Eliana replied, "the most precious thing to come from the ground, precious like you, my friend." "Didn't the Wanderer discover copper?" Adah asked. "You and that man! Is there any thought of yours that doesn't involve him?" Adah's cheeks warmed as she glanced at her reflection again. "What am I meant to be seeing?" "You are beautiful, Adah." The statement had come from Eliana's brother, walking into the corner of her vision at that moment. Adah was stunned. "Am I?" "The most beautiful woman I have ever seen." She stared at Ruhamah with wide eyes, but he stood resolute, holding her gaze. His didn't wander like other men's. She noticed his simple tunic, much like hers except quite filthy, and the leather pouch around his waist, from which tufts of fleece stuck out. Eliana jumped up and pushed him away, laughing. "Her Abba will never accept you, Ruhamah. You may as well give up now. Though," and here Eliana dropped to her knees and squeezed Adah's hand affectionately, "to have you as my true sister would be the most wonderful thing." Eliana was 3 years older than Adah. She knew everything and everyone, and Adah relied on her for all the information she never got from her parents. As Ruhamah countered and her friends wrestled playfully, she felt a familiar pang. To be an only child was uncommon in their culture, rare and lonely. "I know," Ruhamah responded, throwing his hands in the air. "Adah is her father's prize, and mere sheep herder will never be worthy. I can still dream." Adah caught his wistful gaze and surrendered a small smile. Just 2 years older than his sister, they'd all grown up together, and she loved Ruhamah like a brother, wished he was her brother. She hoped he wouldn't treat her differently, now she had altered into a prize to be won. Ruhamah had married another woman the following year and seemed happy. He'd never acted inappropriately towards Adah, but had remained a friend. Until the day his bride asked her not to visit again. As Adah wandered back from her memories, the visitor noticed her. His head turned her way and his mouth twitched. He tucked his hair behind his ears, revealing strong eyes. Dependable eyes, her mother would have said. Abba swung round, jumping off his stool and exclaiming a welcome. "My daughter!" Adah nodded in respect, watching the visitor from under her lashes. "Come join us," her father continued. "You must meet my friend, Lamech." And that ending of the chapter refers back to the bit before the flashback, which was in the previous video. So if you didn't get to watch that first, then go do that and come back and read this one again and it'll make sense. So that's The Wanderer's Legacy, and I'm super excited to be revealing little bits of it to you over the next few weeks.